unless we have the data to support something, we don't really know if people are going to want to buy what we have to offer. Maybe we're going after the wrong target. Maybe we just need to tweak some of the copy so that it appeals to the people that we're trying to sell to. So there's so much that goes into it, but market research can really, really help you narrow maybe what your niche is. And a lot of times it's just tweaking certain things, but we have to test. So I think of entrepreneurship as we're like little scientists that we put something out there, we have to test and tweak and then try it again and test and tweak and get feedback.
You're listening to Entrepreneur Journeys, where I share insights and strategies based on owning and managing businesses while traveling and living on 3 continents. I also interview business owners about their journey, what they learned along the way, and how that can help you with your business growth. For more resources to accelerate your entrepreneur journey, head over to gapologist.com, where I share resources, events, community, and more. I'm your host, Joe Matz. Let's get started.
Today, I have with us Heather Zeitzwolfe. She's a CPA, a profit strategist, a podcaster, and a community leader. Welcome to the show, Heather.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's so great to have you here. This has been a long time coming.
Yes, it has.
And where do you hail from today?
I am living in Portland, Oregon. I've been here since 1995, but I am originally an East Coast person. So I got a little bit of that vibe in me where I'm like, kind of like, get out of my way. But now I've got sort of mellowed out from being on the West Coast.
I'm from the East Coast, Heather. I'm not sure I appreciate that characterization of us. You must have been from the north part of the East Coast.
I was, yes.
Very good. And we've known each other for a little while, but this is kind of like our first opportunity to get to know each other. So I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
So
I'm very excited to be here.
Now, the name of the podcast is Entrepreneur Journey. So we talk about your journey and what lessons you learned along the way and how that might help others who are listening today. Let's start at the beginning. Was there any indication when you were in middle school or before or shortly after that you would become a business owner?
Oh my God. So my father, this was back on the East Coast, he had a seafood place. It was they sold seafood and they had a restaurant and all of that. So my dad had all of these things this is back in the 70s. So it was the thing that you would write on to take someone's order that had the carbon paper and all that. And he had journals and all. I loved playing with office supplies. So I nerded out on that and I would just like make up things and I would kind of create my own businesses and I had my own theater in my house. Like I would create an entire season of shows and sell tickets to my parents. And then I had this faux restaurant called the Castle Cafe and I would sell, meals to my parents. And so, yeah, it was kind of in me in a weird way. But my parents, I guess, were my target audience at the time.
Well, that's a good audience to have. So this is interesting because I hear a lot of creativity there.
Oh, yeah. I've always been creative. And then when I was in middle school, I really wanted to buy Smurf dolls. I don't know if you remember those little Smurfs. And I used to take soap. I'd take my allowance and buy bars of soap. And then I would decorate the soap and melt wax and dip the soap into that and say, make decorative soap. And I'd go door to door and sell those. And, and then I made enough money to buy all these Smurf dolls that I wanted. So yeah, you can be creative. People like to buy from kids. So,
yes.
It's easier being an entrepreneur when you're a kid, I think.
It does. My children, we lived in a resort town in Italy when my children were young, and they painted rocks. And they found out people would buy the rocks. A tourist would buy the rocks. Oh, these poor little children, I'm going to buy these rocks for $1 or $2. We thought it was hilarious. This was their business. They'd sit outside and sell rocks that they had painted.
Yeah, and kids can somehow avoid paying tax. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Cash business, cash business. So so Heather, I'm hearing a teenager who is very right brain, very creative, goes into a very left brain industry with being a CPA. How did that happen?
Yeah. Oh my God. So I started off as a kid, I was really into theater. Then I was into fashion. So I went to school for fashion design. And when I was in school, I'm sorry, when I was actually working in the industry in fashion design, I discovered how much of it was about business and it wasn't about art and creativity as I had thought it was going to be. But I got really interested in business. And so I went back to school and studied went to business school and studied advertising because I thought that was the most creative area of business. Found myself thinking that there was some unethical things about it that I just didn't really like, but I got into market research and I like that analytical kind of stuff. So I love creativity, but I also love the data and reports and forms. Like I just love that kind of stuff, just like I played with as a child. And then I was working in that, and I've been a store manager. I was a project manager, and went back to school and studied accounting. And then decided, you know what, in my 50s, if I'm not going to start my own business now, when am I going to do it? So I decided to become an entrepreneur in my 50s.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. It's never too late.
No, it's
Great.
never too late.
And I imagine you take this CPA training that you have, that's a lot of numbers, combine it with your creativity, and you come out with being a profit strategist. Would I be correct in saying that?
Yeah. I love to, besides, the things like the typical bookkeeping and tax and all of that kind of stuff, which I do enjoy. But I love helping people be creative with their business and think of, different ways that they can make money, open up ideas. Because I love marketing and advertising and all that sort of stuff, and also systems and putting things in place to help people be more organized in their business. And everything affects profit. So, I come to the whole situation with a varied background of all these different things. And I mainly work with creatives, so I understand how their brains think, and they may not want to be like in spreadsheets all day like me. So we come up with creative solutions for them to be able to still understand what's happening financially in their business, but maybe not have to do it through a spreadsheet. So, utilizing creative things like dashboards and that sort of thing, where it's very visual, and they can then, because the more that they understand their numbers, the more power that they will have in their business.
Right. And I've had over 10 businesses, and the profits have been very unique, and the way that profit is made in each of those businesses is different one from the other. And sometimes, saving money was a great thing because that goes right to the bottom line. And sometimes it's creating the culture. Sometimes it's working on the culture of the organization, which can increase the profit, which you can't see that on paper very well sometimes.
That's why asking questions is so important. So yeah, I mean, yes, financials will tell a story, and you got to look in there to find, you can understand a lot about a business from the financials, but it doesn't tell you the whole story.
No.
So yes, you need to understand what's going on behind each thing. Why did they make a decision about certain things? And if they're in growth mode, then certain things will make sense. But if there are, a lot of entrepreneurs, when they get started, they don't know which way they want to go, and they're just sort of trying a bunch of things, and they might spend a lot on marketing, and it doesn't really get them anywhere. And so, yeah, understanding like what it is that their goals are also helps. So not just looking at the financials, but understanding what's the decisions behind things. And oftentimes, if they're starting out, maybe they don't really have any real solid goals. I was going to say solid gold, like you remember the TV show Solid Gold?
Solid gold.
Solid gold. Anyways, they don't have real specific goals around certain things when they're starting out, maybe. And so really drilling down and understanding what it is they want to achieve.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When I work with new business owners, we're looking at broad goals. Because it's hard to be specific, like you said, when you're just starting out. Sometimes you don't know what product or what expertise is going to have the most value in the market for you. So you kind of start out going on a path that's very wide, almost like a funnel, but you're starting from the small side, as opposed to a client funnel where everybody comes in the big side. No, you start on the small one, and as you go forward and you find out what gets traction, if you will, and what people want and what people will pay for, because it's great when your parents buy the food that you made, but now go try to sell that to strangers.
Right, exactly. Well, being that I have a market research background, I really bring that into helping my clients as well, because unless we have the data to support something, we don't really know if people are going to want to buy what we have to offer. Maybe we're going after the wrong target. Maybe we just need to tweak some of the copy so that it appeals to the people that we're trying to sell to. So there's so much that goes into it, but market research can really, really help you narrow maybe what your niche is. And a lot of times it's just tweaking certain things, but we have to test. So I think of entrepreneurship as we're like little scientists, that we put something out there, we have to test and tweak and then try it again and test and tweak and get feedback. And so it's there, that to me is like the fun part. But at the same time, we also want to make sure that what we're putting out there is something that people do want to buy, and that we are, going after the right market that can afford what it is that we're trying to sell. So I call it your profiting superpowers. So it's this alignment of where your passion, where your skills, and where your target audience all kind of collides, and what you can offer them. So that's something that I work with my clients with.
There's a lot to unpack there. You talk about testing and trying things, and I am a big promoter of that, because I started something, and I've got private clients. I said, hey, you know what, this idea I have with private clients, I'm working with them, we're getting results. I can make a group course and go from one to one to many. And so I put an outline for the course. I got it out there. I put some time into it, some serious effort into promoting it, and I got no traction. And it was like, thank God I didn't put 3 months into creating this thing. I put a week and a half into it of serious, focused energy, and I found out it wasn't going to fly at that point, the way I was doing it at that time in history. And so I pivoted. But I could have spent 3 or 4 months putting together a complete program and then found out it didn't work. That would have been worse.
Yeah. And, I always say, test the market and just put your idea out there and see if people even bite on it. Like, are they even interested in it before you spend all this time developing it? Because if you can sell it first, then at least you've proven that it's going to work in the marketplace, and then you can create it. Of course, it depends on what you're doing. But for me, like for my business incubator, I had an idea in my head. And before I was going to spend so much time developing it on like some kind of course platform or membership platform or something, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to get a free Slack account. I've got a Google Drive. I can use my website. And I just used social media and DM'd people and said like, hey, I got this idea. Are you in? Do you want to do this? And, I offered it at a lower price point. So they'd be like, okay, sure. Made it an easy yes for people so I could test things out. And then that's how I developed my community. And I was able to, as a trade, like, hey, I'll let you in for this low price if you give me your feedback. And that's what people did. And so I was able to tweak things and make things better. And so it's been, it's been a great ride. I started it probably, it hasn't even been a year, but again, I like to do things scrappy. That's kind of my, that's my motto, just to get out there and just get started and don't feel like you have to have all the bells and whistles of all the fancy software, because people care about what the outcome is, what they get, that's what they value. They don't care if you're using an expensive software and things look fancy. They just want results.
Right. And that's what they're paying for. They're paying for the results. They're paying for the implementation and results. And, knowledge is out there. You can get knowledge now and on Google and search it and listen to podcasts and get all kinds of knowledge. What you can't get is the personalized help and implementation and accountability, and someone to brainstorm with, someone to, I almost want to say shoot the, but shoot the.
Yeah, just bounce ideas off of each other. You want to bounce ideas off of people because,
yes.
As entrepreneurs, I have creative idea syndrome. I'm constantly coming up with new ideas, and I have to keep them at bay because otherwise you can't get anything done if you're always like bouncing around like a squirrel. But there are days when I do that. I have to reel myself in, but it's always great to be able to bounce ideas off of other people and just be like, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking about. And then they might be like, that doesn't make sense. Or how would you develop that? Or, I don't know if I want to pay for that. It's always good to get out of your head and just talk to other people about it. And that's one of the things I love about my membership is that people get a chance to do that and also collaborate, which, when you collaborate with somebody, and I don't mean like making an official partnership. I just mean like have, maybe do a Facebook Live together or something where you can collaborate together where you're exposed to different people's audiences.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot to be done as solopreneurs. We end up doing a lot by ourselves, and oftentimes we're consulting the space between our ears, and it all sounds pretty good right there. And it's always good to bring it out and see what people think about it, and get their ideas and their impressions. I recently got together with the past guests of Entrepreneur Journeys. And my podcast wasn't called Entrepreneur Journeys at that time. And I sent out an invitation and a number of people showed up. It was so much fun. It was like a family reunion. And I said, I'm going to change the name. And here's the name I'm thinking of. And they came back and they said, no. They were very kind, very nice. The idea was Entrepreneur Journeys Growth. And they said, kill the growth. Get rid of the growth. Entrepreneur Journeys, do that. And so, there were enough intelligent people on that call telling me that I listened to them. And it sounded great. I love it. And I'm so thankful that they helped me out. That's an example of collaboration. And
exactly. Yeah. And it's like a focus group.
Yes.
You had a mini focus group.
Exactly. Yeah, it was great. It's fantastic. I used to run things like that. Oh gosh, years ago, I'd get together. I had 110 people in my house one time, and that was it was a little bit tight, but that was fun. That was fun. Would you like to get in front of more of your ideal clients and at the same time build your brand and create evergreen content? Well, you can do that with podcast guesting. This very moment, you're listening to a podcast that may have been published today or 3 weeks ago or 3 years ago. In a very real sense, you're engaging with the speakers, hopefully enjoying yourself and learning something new at the same time. And you're getting to know the guest and how they help their clients, their customers, and the problems that they solve. You may even be their ideal client and want to learn more about them and download one of their free resources you can find in the show notes, or maybe even become a client of theirs. See, when you're a guest on a podcast, you will enjoy that same kind of engagement. It is perhaps the easiest, most cost-effective way to get in front of new audiences. Learn how you can be a guest on the right podcast and engage with your ideal clients with the free resources available at gapologist.com. Tell me about your podcast. What is your podcast about?
So my podcast is called Get Radical with Your Business, and it's gone through, changes just like your podcast has gone through, when, if anyone is interested in podcasting, I'll just say that, oftentimes we get excited about an idea and then we get in it and we're like, maybe I want to tweak this a little bit. So you may see a lot of podcasts where the name of the podcast was something else, and then they've changed it, or they changed their branding and all of that. So that's what happened to me. So mine used to be called Get the Balance Right. Get the Balance Right. And it was named after a Depeche Mode song, and anybody that listened to Depeche Mode. But it made sense to me because I was an accountant, and I liked the song. It had an 80s vibe to it. But people thought it was like a yoga show or something, so
Sure.
it was kind of confusing. So I changed mine to Get Radical with Your Business. It's always been geared more towards creative entrepreneurs. And I've had, guests over the years. I'm at episode 119 I just released. But I love now doing solo shows. In the beginning, I was a little afraid to do solo shows, but now I've stepped into that. And actually, those are some of my some of those are my favorite shows, where I get to teach and talk about different topics and go in depth in that. But I've met a lot of great people through podcasting. I love podcasting, and I highly recommend it to people if they, want to use that tool to promote their business. But it is like having a second job. So just be aware of that.
Yes.
There's a lot to do.
There's a lot to do. Yes. And, it's something that is good if it makes sense for your business, for you. I know a lot of people are saying they want to get into podcasts, but, you got to be aware. Most podcasts never make it to the 10th episode. So
Right.
you've got to have your expectations right when you get into it.
Right. And people are thinking like, oh, I'm going to become famous or whatever. Like, it doesn't happen that way. So really, you have to look at what are your goals when you're podcasting. And for me, it is a way to meet new people. It opens doors. It allows me to have an in-depth conversation with somebody that I wasn't able to necessarily before. I've talked to people that were, big time people in SEO, writers. I mean, people that probably wouldn't have given me the time of day before, but because you have a podcast, people will talk to you. And so you're able to, ask them all kinds of questions and learn all kinds of things. So if you are someone that is curious, you have to be curious and want to like learn different things. And so it depends on what you want to get out of it. If you want to be famous, I don't think this is the route. Maybe
That's not the route.
No.
Well, so what was one of the most important things you learned from one of your guests?
Oh, so many things. I mean, we've had different topics about social media. It's changed over the years. So like for a while there during COVID, Clubhouse was a really big thing. And I was doing a lot of things on Clubhouse, and I, talked to people about Clubhouse. And at the time it was just like, I was learning so much about that, and it was really great. But again, times change. Now the hot topic is Chat GPT. And I just had an episode all about how people are using AI. And I had people send in recordings about how they're using AI. So I've learned, things change over time. So I've learned all kinds of great things. And so it's continuing with having new guests. The last episode I had was about creating events for promoting your business. So there's so many things to learn as an entrepreneur. So podcasting is a great way to just learn all kinds of new great things to implement in your own business.
Yes, it really is. And we'll have links for our listeners in the show notes. So if you're interested in listening to Heather's podcast and subscribing, you can find all that information in the links there.
Awesome.
Great. And how did the community come about?
Oh, well, so the community is part of my my group program, and I call it the Rad Pack, because it's Get Radical with Your Business.
Okay.
And it's all part of helping one another. So it's a community where I don't just let anybody into the community. I want to make sure that people are going to have a positive attitude, that they want to take action, that they're going to contribute in a kind way to the community. So it's a loving, supporting community. And, like I said, I do it through Slack. So, and then we meet every week through Zoom. So we have action sessions where we kind of turn on our cameras, say what we're going to do, and then go off and do it. We also do that with sales calls. We have strategy sessions, masterminds. So there's a whole variety of ways. So, once you get to know each other, you really are there to support each other and be each other's cheerleader. And maybe somebody is like, oh, I've got a problem with SEO. Do you know somebody that is an SEO expert? And they're like, yeah, when you just have a collaborative, nice environment, you can utilize each other in a great way.
Yes, I love it. You can be in business by yourself, or no, for yourself, but not by yourself.
Exactly.
Right. And it's great. It's like having, that's why companies have boards of directors. Right? The large companies, they actually pay these people to come to a boardroom that might be in the Bahamas or might be in the middle of downtown Manhattan. But they've got board members, and what they do is they direct the company. They talk about ideas. They find out, they help with the direction of the company. As solopreneurs and small business owners, most of us don't have boards of directors. Right? It can be expensive, but a community and folks that you can collaborate with and say, hey, like we talked about before, hey, I'm thinking of this. Am I headed in the right direction? Do you think this is right? How can I tweak it? It's okay. Sometimes I'll go to a group and I'll say, I've got this idea, and it's kind of formulating in my head. It's almost like the recipe is almost there, but I'm missing some ingredients, and I don't know what. I just have this feeling that I'm missing something. And the groups I've been involved with have been fantastic. It sounds like your group would be a group I could come to with a question like that and say, I just need a tweak and I don't know where to go.
Yeah. And it's always really good to have a very diverse group of people too, that have, different backgrounds, because they bring different things to the table. Of course, when you're gathering information and doing market research, you do, like, if you do have an idea and it's for a particular market, you do want to have the people that are in that market also give you feedback as well. So, it's great to have other entrepreneurs give you like, yeah, that's, but then also dig a little deeper. And I like my clients to do informational interviews. So they find people that are in the audience that they want to serve and ask them particular questions so that they can get the feedback on if it sounds like it's going to fly or not, if they would pay for it, what are the words that they use to describe their pain points, that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, I did interviews like that for the course that I launched on podcast guesting. And
okay.
It was super interesting, Heather, because I talked with people and I didn't tell them what I was planning. I asked about their marketing. I asked about their speaking. I asked if they were comfortable on camera. Things, where their gaps are in marketing. How important is it to get in touch with new audiences and meet new audiences, and questions like that. And some of the folks said, I've answered 10 questions, but I have no idea what we're talking about here. And I basically said, that's by design. Because I don't want you to try to feed my ego. I don't want you to try to say, like if I went to my mother who loves me and says, Joe, that's great. That's fantastic. You're awesome. You're so smart. This is going to fly. Of course I would pay. That's my mom. I don't.
Right.
I know what I'll get there. I want real answers.
Exactly. And, like a lot of people, for instance, like if I tell my family about certain ideas, they're like, I don't understand. But they're not involved in online businesses. So that's like a whole different thing. So,
right.
You got to make sure that you're talking to the right people that understand what it is that you're doing.
Right.
What you're up to.
You've got to talk with the target market. You got to talk with the target audience. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. I don't go talking to mountain bikers what they think about surfboards.
Exactly. Right.
Well, we have come to the point of the lightning round. I'm going to ask you a few questions and ask you to come back with answers as quick as you can.
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Here we go.
How has your entrepreneurial journey transformed you?
Oh, wow. It's transformed me in many ways. One of the greatest things, though, is meeting new people. And that's been probably the most exciting thing, is all the doors it's opened and all the new people that are in my life.
Okay. And what most surprised you as a business owner?
Most surprised me that as a CPA in the beginning, I thought that I had to have this image of, oh, I'm an accountant, I wear a suit and all that kind of stuff. But really, what people wanted was the real authentic me. And so when I started showing my face and then I have pink hair or green hair or whatever color it is that week, people really like that, and they're attracted to the fact that I am authentic and weird and funny and all those kind of things. So being yourself, don't hide behind something. So that's really, really important.
Great. I love that. What unexpected challenge have you had to overcome?
Oh, unexpected challenge. That sometimes your ideas that you think that are going to be like the next best thing, sometimes you put time and effort into it, just like you were talking about with your course, and then it just doesn't really pan out. But it's okay to pivot and be like, okay, well, that didn't work out, let's try something else. And being okay with let's just call it failure. Maybe that wasn't the right choice, but we learn from these things and we grow. So that's really the important thing.
Yes, yes. I often think that being an entrepreneur is a continuous process of solving challenges.
Yep.
What?
Sometimes there are software challenges too.
Sometimes there are, yes, there are all kinds, all kinds. What book has made a big impact on you, and who would you recommend it to?
Oh, there's a lot of, I love books. I would say the Story Brand books by Donald Miller, his whole series of books, those have probably had a really big impact on me. There's some different other like accounting type books that are around accounting and money and that sort of thing. Profit First, Mike Michalowicz. So I would say Donald Miller and Mike Michalowicz's books probably would be the ones that I would recommend.
And I think those apply to every entrepreneur, everyone doing business. They apply to most. Some of those specific accounting books, maybe not so much.
Yeah, no. But the other writers, I wish I had a female writer to say right now, but those are the two that stand out to me.
Okay. Yeah. Great books. I love Donald Miller and everything he does about story branding and getting your message out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs in your industry?
Oh, in my industry, like in accounting or my clients' industries?
Why do we think about your clients? It might be more broad and more appropriate to our audience.
Okay. Yeah. What would I tell aspiring? Okay. That you are going to have to put in the work and the effort. It just doesn't do it itself. Leads are not just going to come trickling in. Sales aren't going to just come to your door. You have to actually put some effort into it and focus on sales, because referrals are great. We want to keep clients happy, have them give us referrals, have some sort of referral program. Maybe you can have affiliates or commission or something, but have a concentration on sales, because if the money isn't coming in, you're not going to stay in business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. Now, this whole interview, is there any question I should have asked you that I did not?
A question you should have asked me. Well, we didn't talk about networking, but I've put a lot of effort into networking. I think that's a really important thing to do as an entrepreneur, is get yourself out there. And I don't mean networking in a sleazy way where you're like going to some place and being like handing out business cards. Like, really get to know people, because it is so important to have the human connections with other people. And whether they buy from you or not, you never know how that person is going to be linked with other people. So just have more human connections with people, whether it's through a Zoom networking thing or in-person networking. But networking is so key, because we want to connect with people in a human manner. We don't want to just think about someone's just going to click on a link and buy something. No, we want to have a human connection.
Right. And if I could recommend a book, I would recommend The Go-Giver.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I have not read that, but I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Yes. If you're interested in networking and you think networking is just handing out business cards and saying, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. If that's what you think of networking, or that's the kind of things you've seen, get The Go-Giver. It's not a very large book, and it's got great information, mostly about being of value to others.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way that's my personal interpretation of one line about that book. Yeah, great. Heather, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate you so much taking the time to be on Entrepreneur Journeys.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it too.
Now, before we say goodbye, I do want to know, as our listeners want to know, how do they get in touch with you? And at the same time, do you have any offers that you can offer to our listeners?
Ooh, yeah. So one of the things I advise my clients to do is to have something to invite people to and give them more time to be in your circle. So give them a little flavor of you. So I have events that I put on a monthly basis. So if you go to getradbiz.com/events with an S, events. So getradbiz.com/events. You'll see all the different workshops that I have coming up that are free that you can come and hang out with me. And now the titles may not sound so exciting. I have one that's all about profit and loss, but I promise you it is riveting. So, and then I have other ones about sales and leads and pricing. And so there's a variety of different free workshops that you can come hang out with me.
Oh, great. And don't judge the events by the title.
Hopefully I've done a good job at making the titles enticing. It's how to read, rock, and no, I screwed that title up. But anyways, they're all good.
They're all good. Good. Well, certainly I would encourage you to go to those events because they're also free, and I'm sure you'll meet some great people there, and you'll get more of Heather. If you want more of Heather, that's where you got to go. Very good. And we'll have some contact information in the show notes also.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Heather. Have a great day and a great week.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye now.
Thank you for listening to Entrepreneur Journeys. Remember to subscribe so you catch all the episodes, and check out the show notes for any free giveaways or gifts that were mentioned during this show. Entrepreneur Journeys is brought to you by Apexible, providing the insights, tools, and transformative structures to help you reach your business summit. I'm your show host, Joe Matz, and until next time, I hope your journey is filled with breathtaking views and successful outcomes.